Massachusetts in the Great Hall at 26 Court Street, where tonight we have two cases to take care of and some informal business afterwards. So it should be a fairly quick and easy evening. The first case will be Catherine Miller, 25 Dorothy Drive, and I will ask the clerk to read the legal ad into the record, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Case number 4127, the Plymouth Zoning Board of Appeals on the zoning bylaw will hold a public hearing in the Great Hall, Town Hall, 26 Court Street, Plymouth, Mass. On Monday, June 3rd, 2024 at 7 p.m. to hear the petition of Steve and Catherine Miller requesting a special permit required per Section 203-1C and per Section 205-2RR and dimensional table to waive side and rear setbacks to construct a detached garage on the property of 25 Dorothy Drive, shown as Lot 3-57 on Plat 112 of the Assessor's Map dated January 1, 2023 in an RR zone. The petitioner or his or her representatives and any other person desiring to be heard on this matter should appear at the time and place designated.
Thank you. Seated on this case will be Mr. Leary, Mr. O'Reilly, Mr. Conroy, Mr. Wallace, and myself. Who will be representing? Please, make sure that the green light is on the microphone.
Oh, there it is.
There it is.
Okay, go ahead.
So basically, up in the...
First, identify yourself.
Oh, hi, I'm Catherine Miller.
This gets recorded.
Oh, okay. Yep, I'm Catherine Miller.
I'm Steve Miller.
And Steve. We live at 25 Dorothy Drive. And as you can see up on the screen, we want to build a garage. And that's why we're here.
So we've already gone through a little bit of it. We cleared trees out. Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So when we started the process, we wanted to do it all right. So we had our land surveyed and marked out, and the surveyor told us that he put on the paper there was 10-foot setbacks. And so we said, well, let's be safe. Let's plan it for 15 feet. So we did that, and then we had trees cleared for it, and a rough driveway put up, and then we had our architect come out to actually design it, and he said, you can't be that close. I said, but what do you mean we can't be? That's not what he said. And then we were already, dumping a whole bunch of money into it, and now we're just hoping that you guys will be okay with it and let us build our garage, because we have a bunch of stuff piled in every room of our house, and we want to get it out. That's what we'd like to do.
Michael?
Yeah, okay. I mean, I have no issues with that. That's why you're here. There was a couple things, though, is on the plot plan, the town really wanted the septic system shown, and all you've got is just that sewer cover.
So we talked to the survey guy to have that. What happened? You tried to get the
When we
plan?
went to the planning board meeting on the 22nd, they told us that they would like the plans to include the septic, but we tried to get in contact with our surveyor, and he couldn't fit us in between then and now. So
we know where it is.
Yeah, I know where. I mean, the septic is pretty much
in the left corner.
Yeah, almost.
The leaching field's in the top left
Right.
corner, and it comes from the left corner of the house, basically in a straight line.
So,
it's nowhere near.
So we were.
Well, I realize that. I mean, you couldn't have anyways because it goes uphill, but it still has to be on our plans. Certain things have to be on our plans, period.
Yes,
That's
yes.
it. And, I mean, the drains on you should have some kind of drain on the gutters and stuff, because on the driveway, that does, like I went out there, that heads all the way down to the road. So on the other side, I see they part of the conditions, they wanted to put in a gravel driveway instead of a tar, so
Yes.
it isn't so bad, but, you know, you could end up putting just stone where the drip edges, you know,
Yes.
where it drips onto the ground, just putting a stone so it gets rid of it, rather than run
Yes.
down the driveway onto the street, you know.
The driveway is not finished also. That's just a binder coat that's on there now, and with our paver, we have plans to put a berm up on the driveway, so
Yeah.
it diverts the water down towards the paved part of the driveway entry, which there's a storm drain right down there, too.
Okay, remember, the water's not supposed to leave your property, so.
We can put, I'm happy to put any kind of French drain at the gutters or
Yeah.
anything,
Yeah.
like I think, I forget what they're called, dry wells, something like that.
Yeah.
But,
Right,
yeah,
exactly.
so I will gladly put whatever we need to put at the bottom of the drain spouts, downspouts, whatever, to get rid of it. It's fine
Right.
by me.
Kevin?
No, Michael raised the same questions that I was going to ask
All right.
regarding the septic and the drainage, so.
Okay.
Okay, Ed?
We know each other, Mr. Miller, don't we?
We do.
From B&I a couple decades
Yes.
ago.
Well, hello,
Hello,
Mr.
sir.
Conroy. How's the office?
So, as Mrs. Keene said, the health director just wants to make sure that there's no living space above the garage.
Right.
Oh,
So as long as we say do that, and we get maybe revised plans later, I'm okay with it, if you guys want to do it.
Mr. Wallace?
Question for you, Mr. Chairman. How would you propose that they come back with the plans for the informal presentation?
Be honest with you, I don't think we need to. I think we could condition it that it has to be,
I'd like to see the plans.
really?
Yeah.
All right, I was gonna say, because there's no, I mean, it definitely can't be there. I'd like to see it just say at the time of the building permit that it has to be on the set of plans before a building permit's issued. How's that?
On the plan before the building permit is...
Is issued.
Which is okay, but I would prefer to see it ourselves and see what we're going to do about runoff for the rain, for the edges of the gutters and stuff. Maybe a rain garden, maybe a dry well, something, but something has to be on there in order for, here's the situation. What we do is we grant you permission to waive some certain little thing that's not completely as of right. But in doing that, everything that we do, everything, goes on your deed, and it goes on your deed in perpetuity. So it's not just you that we have to protect, or the town that we have to protect. We have to think about, someday you're going to grow old, believe me. I know how it's done. And you're probably going to want to downsize and so on and so forth, and somebody else is going to want to buy that. And all of a sudden, they get to a closing and bam, something didn't get done, or something wasn't there. And the tiniest little things can hang these things up. We're just trying to make sure that doesn't happen.
well, that happened to me when I purchased the house, so I'm well aware.
Things like that always happen. Well, I mean, we're welcome to, we're happy to make any kind of changes.
On the
or
building
additions.
plan, is what you're saying? On the architectural
On-
plans?
On the lot plan.
On the
The
lot,
lot plan with the topo on it, you've got to, basically, that's where the septic system
Okay.
will have to be shown. So you'd
The
have to
septic
have
and
him
the-
add that to this plan you're showing right there.
If we, and they mentioned wanting to have the proposed elevations too, so we're waiting on our survey guy, so if maybe we go ahead and put what the proposed elevations, the septic, and then proposed drains, is that what we're saying?
that's,
Yeah. Okay.
but as far as the project goes, I'm all in favor of it.
Hey, me too.
Okay.
We're on the same page there.
Believe me, I encourage people to build bigger garages, not smaller.
Okay.
And I
Well,
get
it would be
in
bigger than
trouble
our
with
house
these
if it were
guys,
any
they
bigger than
always
it is
say.
now, so.
But again, I just want to make sure all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted, so that you guys don't run into a problem
Absolutely.
10 years from now.
We
Okay,
appreciate that.
okay.
So, what do you want to do, fellas?
Oh, you gonna do public comment?
Yes. Before we do anything, I'm going to open this up to public comment. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak either in favor or against this petition? Yes. Please come to the microphone and identify yourself.
Sit down.
Gentlemen, how you doing? Just like to say that we're in favor. We're right next door to them.
So my son here lives right next door,
Your name, please.
Kelly O'Brien and Devin
My
O'Brien.
name's Devin.
So he lives next door to the right of the property, and I'm 2 houses down on 32 Dorothy Drive. So neither one of us have any issues with it. So just want to make sure you know that.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Yes, please. Atta boy.
Smart man.
I'm Nancy Histon, and I'm fine with it, with what they're doing. Yes, I live on the other side. And that's my husband, Bob, who decided to stay there.
Obviously.
The only thing I noticed was, just to speak, is that the 50-foot setback that I saw in there, I hadn't been aware of. We put a room on 20-something years ago, and I think it was a 20-foot setback on the side.
Yeah, sir. In order for that to be heard and recorded, you would have had to come to the mic. Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else? Seeing none, I'm going to close public comment. Do either of you have anything else you would like to add?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Okay. I'm
Please
gonna-
approve our permit.
All right, I'm going to close all of the comment, and this is going to be discussion for board members only. If we have to ask you a question, we'll ask you. Okay? Mr. Wallace?
So long as we have put the conditions in and I'm assuming they'll have to come back for informal approval. Oh, I'm sorry. My own
Rookie.
rookie. No, I'm good with the concept, so long as that what we've discussed in terms of drainage, septic, and that is on a plan, and could, for my sake, come back for informal presentation.
Ed?
I'm fine with the plan.
Yep, same here.
Michael?
I'm fine. And we can, with the regular conditions that are on there. and-
Folks, let's go through the conditions.
Everything's on there, the no habitable space, everything. I think all we need to do is add, I don't know if it'd be a condition, but is that they come back in an
It is a
informal
condition, yeah.
and show us the septic system on the plot plan, the elevation at the foundation height of it, and some kind of drainage for the gutters.
Informal or drainage. And septic. Okay, so we've got 8 conditions. Are any of them anything that any of you see that you would like to talk about?
Well, some of them are redundant if we're having them come back on an informal, such as 5 and 7.
Right.
Possibly 6.
And
Yeah,
again,
5, 6, 7, right.
well, I really do want to see it, and I want it on the plan, and the only, because lately, things have been said to be done, and they don't get done. And this way, we know it's
Do you
done.
want them both? Just want both on the plan in here?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, any other? Well,
Okay.
gentlemen,
I move that we approve case 4127 with the conditions that we just talked about and listed.
I have a motion by Michael. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. I have a motion by Mr. Leary and a second by Mr. Wallace to approve case 4127 with 8 conditions. The 8th condition being that they come back in an informal manner with the stuff we asked for on the blueprints. And I wait a vote.
Oh, well then ask for the vote.
Yes. I did. I said I await a vote. Well, I'm trying to see if you people are paying attention. All those in favor? It is unanimous. Go ahead. Thank you very much, folks.
See you, buddy. Electrician.
Okay. Our next case is case number 4128, M3 Ventures, 9 Collins Drive, Plymouth, Mass., and it is for a sign situation. I am going to ask Mr. O'Reilly to recuse himself if he would, please. Yes, Ed can read that.
How do we work that? No, we've only got
I've asked the petitioner if he
Oh.
was willing to go forward with only 4 of us, and I got an affirmative, I believe.
That is correct, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, would you read the ad to the record, please?
Case number 4128, the Plymouth Zoning Board of Appeals on zoning bylaw will hold a public hearing in the Great Hall, Town Hall, 26 Court Street, Plymouth, Mass. On Monday, June 3rd, 2024, 7 p.m. to hear the petition of M3 Ventures, Inc., requesting a special permit required per Section 203-16.5 to waive the number of allowed marijuana establishment signs to install a secondary architectural sign, and per Section 203.3.d.1, Table 1, to waive the maximum size of secondary architectural sign to install a secondary architectural sign on the property of 9 Collins Ave, shown as Lot 34B on Plot 101 of the Assessor's Map dated January 1, 2023, in an LI zone. The petitioner or his or her representative or any other person desiring to be heard on this matter should appear at the time and place designated.
Thank you, Mr. Conroy. Seated on this case will be Mr. Leary, Mr. Conroy, Mr. Wallace, and myself. Before we get started, Mr. Sims, would you please come to the microphone?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board.
Before we get started, it is customary, I guess you would call it, to have 5 people sit on a case. These cases require what's called a supermajority. So of the 5 of us, 4 of us have to be in favor. If you do not get all 4 votes tonight, this will not pass. Are you comfortable with going forward with only 4 members?
I thought we had a simple majority on this case, Mr. Chairman. If it's not, then I need to brief recess with my client. So if we had 5 members, how many votes would we need on a special permit request?
4.
4, correct?
On all
On all-
cases of 4 members, Mr.
Right.
Sims.
But on 4, I need all 4 of you for every aspect of it without conditions or with conditions that is voted upon by the board, right?
Correct.
Okay, So let me just double check with my client, and I'll be right back to the podium.
Okay. We're going to go on to a little informal matter for a couple of minutes and give you some time. And the informal matter will be, where is it? It's case 4125, Ryan Hamilton, 0 Gurnett, and it's just for conditions. Please. Mr. O'Reilly has returned to the bench. Who is representing this? Please come to the microphone and make sure the green button is illuminated. No, I believe you're coming back for condition number 7, return with a structural engineer's plans, and we have these new plans.
Yes.
Are there any questions from board members?
No, I was fine with it. I mean, on
Yeah,
the, yeah, the floodplain, you know, basically, we're like an overseer. We just look at it to make sure, because they explain in the statute that basically it's because of insurance companies, so on and so forth, right? So, I mean, basically, you got the beach elevations at 10 and the floor elevations at 17. And I looked at the plans, and I think they're good, you know,
Okay.
be my opinion.
That I am of the same opinion. Mr. O'Reilly?
No, I was fine with the plans. I took a drive out to look at the property, and I'm satisfied.
Great.
I don't have a vehicle to get there. Jed?
I'm fine with the plans.
I'm fine with the plan.
Well, in that case, I await a motion.
So I'll motion that we approve 4125, that he came back and fulfilled condition number 7.
All those in favor? It is unanimous.
Thanks, guys.
You'd probably be sitting there one of these days watching the water come underneath.
Yeah.
Out of
I'll be glad I
curiosity,
built it up at 17.
out of curiosity, that place you said was, to see it now, was in the 50s it was put up?
Yeah.
How many times, has that been ever destroyed, or?
I mean, water makes its way in yearly.
Yeah.
We usually get 2 good nor'easters
Yeah.
to bring water into the house, but it still stands. You know,
Yeah.
it wipes out windows, doors, and siding, but the building's still pretty
Yeah.
straight for the most part.
Well, you'll be up 5 feet higher.
I know, right?
Now you can sit down and watch it.
I'll have a boat out there soon, I'm sure. Be no land or beach left.
Yeah.
Okay, you're all
Great.
set.
Thank you again.
You're good to go.
Buster, do you need a second? Mike motioned.
Oh,
I thought
nobody seconded mine.
Oh, I
Oh,
thought
Ted
okay.
did.
Yeah.
Oh, you did.
Okay.
Voice sounds good.
Yeah, it was, I thought it was a fair vote. Okay. All right. With plans. Mr. Sims, please return to the microphone.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've discussed with my client. We're comfortable going forward with the composition of the board as it is this evening, understanding that we need supermajority, so we're ready to move forward.
Okay. Go right ahead.
Thank you.
We've read the legal ad, and I have put people on the, go right ahead.
First of all, I apologize if my voice is congested or whatever. Pollen seems to be hitting me particularly hard tonight. I apologize. But Once again, my name is Bill Sims, and I'm representing M3 Adventures, known to the public under the business name of the Triple M Dispensary on 9 Collins Ave, located in the L1 zone, the industrial park. By way of just a little bit of history, this was approved by the Zoning Board of Appeals back in 2018 as a marijuana establishment. The existing conditions right now is a front facade sign, I think it's about 36 by 84, and a freestanding sign at the entrance. The petition before you this evening proposes 2 secondary architectural facade signs, one facing north towards Route 3, and the other is facing east, which is also, both signs are also halo lit. So with me this evening is Ms. Carrie Carafolo, who's with Brenner Signs, can talk to you about the details of the signs that are being proposed, and also is Ms. Renee Pannoni, who is Chief Operating Officer of Triple M, can answer any questions about corporate and things that I don't know the answers to. I think the total of both signs are about 115 square feet, which makes them over 75 square feet more than what the zoning bylaw requires. This is under Section 203, 16.5, to waive the number of signs allowed, plus 203.3D1 to waive the maximum size of each secondary architectural sign. The plans that have been submitted to fire and engineering, neither department had objections or comment. If you look at the proposed signage, I think you'll find that they are both complementary and appropriate. The design is tasteful, it's subtle. The lighting component, halo lit, which is allowed in Plymouth, will be indirect and will not present any form of nuisance or adversely affect the neighborhood in the industrial park. And if you look at the, and I'm sure you have, the report by planning, they basically found that the signage itself was both appropriate in the zone, same size and range as other similar signs within the industrial park, and no nuisance or adverse effect upon the neighborhood. The proposed lighting is consistent with the indirect lighting requirements of the bylaw. The only issues they raised, and some of which are common to every planning board recommendation, are, obviously a municipal lien certificate showing that, we don't owe any back taxes, penalties, or fees, which I can assure you will be submitted. They did ask that the signage, which we propose to be on the north side, which is facing Route 3 south, be on a timer and shut off at 9 o'clock. I'm unclear as to where that decision came from. It wasn't brought up at the meeting as to a foundation for that decision. I mean, the whole idea behind the halo-lit sign is for nighttime visibility for the facility, and it's extremely important. I don't pretend to know all the economics of the marijuana distributorships and retail operations in this town, but I do know for a fact that there are huge decreases in revenue for the town. So the economic factor cannot be ignored here. I think Mr. Hartman mentioned at the planning board meeting that 50% is about the number that they're looking at right now as the decrease in revenue from the retail facilities. So this is extremely important to Triple M to get some signage. It's tasteful, as I said before. It is well designed. It is appropriate. And we're talking about the industrial park. We're not talking about an immensely lit billboard on top of the building. We're talking about a small sign. And if we could have, Denise, can we get this? Show the numbers, what we're talking about here. Thank you. So this is the basic design of the sign. In the lower left-hand corner, what you're looking at is the building. is the location of the building where you can see the sign just a little bit. Next one, please, Denise. You can see it there again. This is the proposed signage. Again, not overwhelming, but available to be seen. I believe that's the, let me see, what is that? That's the east-facing sign. Okay. Do you want to, you're better equipped to show them.
Good evening. Carrie Garofalo from Brenner Signs. So that's the east-facing side. So the way that these will be built would be on a 2-inch aluminum backer panel, painted the same color as the building. And we're going to put 3-inch thick halo-lit letters attached to them. So again, it will be very tasteful looking, not too bright, no distractions. And like I said, the backer panel is going to match the same color as the building. So technically, you'll be able to just see the outline of the letters at night.
Denise, can you show us the, I'm sorry.
So this is north. So this one is the north-facing side, same exact thing. This one's 75 square feet, be made exactly the same way. 2-inch backer panel, have your 3-inch deep halo-lit letters that will be attached to the backer panel. Backer panel, same color as the building. That's pretty much all I have.
Okay.
So as you can see, both signs on a very large-scale building are relatively small in comparison to the square footage of the building. They're not overwhelming. I don't think it's going to overly expand, the visibility of the building itself, but it will promote a little bit of signage for the business, which we're looking for, especially driving south on Route 3. And again, it's quite a distance from Route 3. I don't know the exact measurements, but even the signage, is not going to be, right on Route 3. It's going to be where the building is located, which is quite distant from all access points, including, the east side facing. So we're looking for signs on both sides just to, tastefully attract business, which we desperately need at this point. And I'm hoping that, if you have questions, that we can address them adequately.
One thing I think we're going to have to acknowledge as a board, and this is going to have to be probably a discussion before we get into discussion about the signs, is under the marijuana bylaw, it only allows for one historic sign on the front of the building. No architectural, says they're prohibited. The identification, any other identification signs are prohibited. Now, you can do it around with a variance, but I think we could actually do it straight up. But that's a decision the board's going to have to make, because we're going to set a precedent by doing that if we do it. I'll read you, the bylaw says only one historic identification sign as defined by 203-3 of the zoning bylaw are allowed. All other identification signs are prohibited. So we're going to give them permission. Now, I know this was put in by town meeting. Ed was at town meeting too. We did vote this in at town meeting, and this was part of it. I think at the time, everybody was afraid. Remember, that's when all the new marijuana places were opening up and had lines around the block and so on and so forth. And I think that was more of why we decided to do that. However, I think as a board, we got to decide before we actually get into the discussions on the sign, are we willing to set a precedent there And for the other marijuana places, is basically what it would be. It's not in the signage bylaw, it's in the marijuana bylaw.
So, Bill, what did you say about 50% revenues? You're talking about what did you say
Yeah,
about?
I can have Renee talk about the economics a little bit more than I can, but I think for the industry in general, and especially here in Plymouth, I think they've declined considerably because of the competition and the way the laws and the regulations have been established. The town revenues, for tax revenues, the business revenues, which directly relate to tax revenues, have dropped dramatically. And Renee, do you have any figures on that?
I don't. I can just.
Hold on.
Good evening. I can tell you
Please,
that there's.
For the record.
Oh, sorry about that. What's that? Renee Pannoni, Chief Operating Officer at Triple M. I can tell you that a lot of our customers still do not know where we are, where we're located. I think that our neighbor taking down a lot of trees has finally made us visible on the highway. But again, as Bill mentioned, with the increased competition across the state, revenue is down. So we're just looking at ways to promote our company.
So, back to the question of revenue, you really don't have an idea of a percentage increase in revenue that this signage might cause or give you, or?
I think that's and the planning board presented that question as well, and I think it's extremely difficult to try to project an answer to that question. It certainly is going to be able to increase it. There's no way that additional signage is going to decrease, the visibility, which will then translate into, potential revenue. But to nail down numbers by putting up signs and telling this board that I can guarantee you another 30% additional revenue would be, so speculative.
That wasn't the question.
I wouldn't go there, Mr. Maine. I would not go there.
Bill, that wasn't the question.
Okay, then I misunderstood.
And we'll move on. Yes, please.
Yeah, I'm going to agree that was not the question. Can you tell us now, because when 3M was the first marijuana license or host agreement in Plymouth, and there was a lot of discussion at the select board and the permits, and I think everybody in Plymouth is worried about rising taxes, increases in every form of what we're spending on. So I'd ask the COO, what is the gross taxes that you currently pay in the last fiscal year to the town of Plymouth? Current gross taxes.
Roughly $250,000.
250,000.
Approximately. I can get you a solid number.
All right. And are there any other taxes that, obviously, how many people do you employ?
We have about 100.
About 100, all right. And are there any other fees you pay to Plymouth? Don't you pay a percentage of your revenues or gross revenues over and above taxes? I don't remember the entire contract.
The host community agreement?
Yeah.
We do not.
You do not?
No.
So right now, we're seeing about $250,000 in gross revenues to the town in taxes.
Correct.
And approximately 100 employees,
Correct.
give or take. How many acres of land do you control right now?
Who's on here?
If we look at the deed.
I don't have it in front of me.
It's 4.
4 acres, all right. Mr. Chair, may I ask a few more questions?
Yes, please.
Is this sign internally lit? The one you're proposing?
Excuse me, it's backlit. So
Excuse me?
it's halo lit, so the letters will stand off of the backer panel 3 inches, and inside those letters are LED lights that will emit halo off the back of the letters to bring the letters out. It is not internally lit.
Oh, good. Are you familiar with the dark sky bylaw that exists in Plymouth?
No.
Okay. So I don't know your business. I only know the questions.
Yeah.
Can you assure us that your lighting does not violate the dark sky bylaw in the town of Plymouth? And part of that is no internally lit signs on an exterior of a building or even in a window. I'm asking if you're familiar with that condition.
Yeah, so as a condition, as recommended by planning board, was that any lighting for the proposed signs must comply with the prevention of lighting pollution section of the bylaw, 2074, and use LED lights. So to that extent, yes, we are familiar with it, and the signs have been designed with that in mind. Mr. Wallace?
All right. And obviously, as you said, the building that is facing east can be seen visually from Route 3 southbound.
The signage that we're looking at here, I believe, is the north night view. So as you're coming south on Route 3, that's approximately what you'd be seeing. But this photo obviously is taken from within less than 100. I'm sorry, less than 100 feet from the sign location. So the distance from that sign to Route 3 is obviously substantially more, distant, whatever you want to call it. So this is just a close-up view of what you're looking at, but that's the view that we want to be seen as you're heading south on Route 3.
Right.
That's the north-facing sign.
Yeah, from that picture, and it's only because I don't understand your industry, from that picture, it appears to me to be an internally lit sign. And I don't know the difference between a halo effect or internally lit or LED light. I know what LED is, but I don't know how to understand that.
So
I'll let Carrie talk about that, because halo lit,
Halo signs are legal.
Yeah.
Internally lit, the light can't come through the sign.
And it can't go up.
so halo lit is allowed in Plymouth. Internally lit is a different story.
All right.
It is.
So you
It's
know
allowed.
that?
Yep.
Because I know who's going to appeal it.
Oh, you?
No.
No, this is, halo lighting is allowed in the town of Plymouth, Mr. Wallace, and this is a halo lit sign. It's not internally lit. So.
Good, I'm comfortable.
May I ask you a question?
Mr. Wallace.
You know Harbor Town?
Yes,
Those are halo lit letters in the front of that building,
thank you.
not internally lit.
Right.
Also, if I may share with the board, Denise, do we have the Zen sign available? So this is approved, I don't know the date, by both planning, recommendation by planning and approved by ZBA for Zen Leaf. And it's the same type of lighting, no restrictions, no timers. And that's the type of lighting that we are proposing to be used here. It's the same thing. And that's located in the industrial park on Roberts Road as well.
Thank you.
Ed, are you on?
Mike.
You can go, Michael.
Okay, so one of the questions I have is, so the north sign, I can understand, that's from the expressway. The east sign, when you're looking at that plot plan, where does that sit on the building, and why are you putting it there to be seen from where?
I'll address it briefly, and then I'll turn it over to Carrie. But if you're familiar with the building itself, you'll see that it's a large building, and there's no signage at all right now, except for the front entrance, where there's a walkway sign and a small sign in front. So we're looking to provide exposure on the east side as well, so that people driving through, and I'm not quite sure, maybe Renee, you can talk a little bit better about the traffic going on east as to where that signage would be available. But again, it's super important that, and again, it's a small, relatively small sign in comparison to the volume of the building. So this particular sign on the east side, where there is nothing right now, will have the ability to attract potential consumers and at least show them where the facility is.
Oh, I'm just questioning from where are you trying to
Yeah.
get them
portray.
from? You know, because I'm.
Who's going to see it?
Yeah, yeah.
Let me see if
I
I
mean,
can
not
find-
the parking lot.
Nope, we can try to find it. Oh, I'm going to need you, Denise. We're on a different screen now. To go back to the original one, I think which showed. Okay, so when we get to it, you will see that that sign east is for the traffic heading north, I'm told. So, heading north, yes. So that gives you an
That's
idea of what
north
we're
one.
looking for on that side of the building.
What I'm looking for is if you can get up there, is the plot plan.
And then point
Point to
exactly.
where that east sign is going.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Denise. I don't know if that's going to do it for you, but can you explain to them?
Now I need glasses.
Sure, either. It's kind of hard to see.
What's happening? Point out where that sign's going to be.
We're just trying to determine, based on the site plan, exactly where the signage is. I'm sorry, we just.
No, actually, no. This is getting to be a joke. Excuse me, but we've got to continue the hearing.
We're just trying to identify it for you as best we can. So, speak. So I've been to the site, but I'm not as strategically familiar with the angles as everybody else is. But apparently at the top corner,
If you've got a pointer there,
apparently this is the area which is the east that we're talking about. That's the area, I believe.
Well, that's the
Am I
north
right?
sign.
No? Did I miss it? I'm not real good with plans, I'm sorry.
Well, the north arrow, so I looked at it and I was trying to determine where it were, and I would think the north sign's on that angled portion of the building. The east side looks to me like it's on that jog out, but I'm not sure. Again, none of these were marked, so.
So where the generator is, I don't think they can hear me.
you know what?
The expressway.
I don't like it. I want to know when. No, it did not.
It's not helpful. Okay.
I'm almost ready to say you're not prepared because you don't even know where you want to put the signs and you can't show us, and that's not really cool. but I'm going to let that bypass. I think that we have a problem. I want this to succeed, and I want you guys to succeed and all of that. But we have a prohibited use here, number one. Those signs are prohibited. So we're going to have to go well beyond just setting something, a part of a bylaw, aside. We're going to have to set a bylaw aside. That's number one I'm having a problem with. Number two, I'm not real happy that you can't point on this blueprint that I have in front of me where your second sign wants to be. Nobody can show me, all right? And so if they can't show me, they can't show the rest of the board. We don't know. I'm probably going to be okay, in my opinion, with the one on the north side, because I understand that will capture the most visibility for the most people, and that's actually what you're trying to do. The east side, I don't know where it is, so I don't know how you can tell me that you need it if you don't know where it is.
So I know where it is on the building photos that we've showed you earlier. As it relates to this, we've shown you the general direction on the site plan. I admit, okay, I was not prepared for that question, Mr. Maine, and I thought that you would see the east side of the building, look at the location of the building as cited on the site plan, understand what is east and which is north. So I was not prepared to show you exactly which side of this large-scale building, okay, exactly where the signage is. We showed you photographs of where it is proposed to be and where it's facing. I thought that would be sufficient. If it's not, then, and this board is not comfortable making a decision on that sign, I'm happy to continue this for another time and come back with a more definitive plan showing you that, if that's what it takes. But it is on the east side and the north side, as we showed earlier. But if this is not sufficient for the board, then let me know, and we'll come back with, you know, detailed, more scaled, blown-up versions of what we're looking at here.
And I don't want to sound like I'm being unreasonable, but this has a very, very high probability of being appealed or being other dispensaries coming forward and wanting more signage, more visibility, more everything. And that's where we go back to, you're asking this board to set aside something that is prohibited. I'm kind of ready to do that, but in a very limited form. And when I don't know where something is,
So, as you know, that every decision that this board makes is subject to an appeal, regardless how frivolous or how foundless the basis is for it. We're always dealing with that. We've both been there, I've been here, and we can't stop that. What we're asking for is a reasonable interpretation of the zoning bylaw to allow a special permit for 2 signs on a large-scale building, which are, as recommended by the planning board, which take what you want with their recommendation, but appropriate, tastefully designed, and have a lot of positive impact. And again, we can't anticipate who is going to come in next and ask for more. I mean, we have other dispensaries in town and more in adjoining towns, but we're talking about this particular case and whether this particular application makes sense, whether the scope of the building, the magnitude of the building, and the signage is appropriate, zone-specific, and makes sense for this board to grant relief. And that is where we're going with this. We can't sit here, you can't sit here, I mean, we as a town, and say, well, we don't want to do this because we're worried about somebody else filing an appeal.
and that's not what I said.
That's not what we're...
All right, well, I'm just saying that This particular petition
Bill.
before you.
Don't try and twist my words, because I did not say that. What I said, and I will reiterate that, is we're being asked to set a prohibited thing aside. In this board, we set a lot of things aside, but something that is prohibited, I've been here 20 years, you were here for a lot of years. Tell me once where we said a prohibited use was all right, okay? And you can't, because we just don't do that. You know that. So you're asking us to do something that is highly unusual, number one, and I want to just know what I'm going to say yes or no to. I can't, I don't know where the east sign is.
So, can I?
Go ahead, Michael.
Okay, so I'm looking at this, and believe me, I'm one for our business, period. And I think you should have more signs, not less. I mean, I don't know how many times this, Ed and you have heard me argue with Bill over signage. You know, you need it, no problem. I don't have an issue there. I only brought that up because, again, is you know what bylaws are, and it's there. One, I don't have a problem with overriding that, giving you permission around that we get, if it's appealed, we get decided. What I do have a problem, the same as Mike. Now, I know the sign on the north side's for the expressway. I have no problems with that. The east side, I have no clue, because I'm looking at the northeast thing here, and I would assume it's on that, and I don't know, is that for trying to capture the northbound traffic? I don't know. I don't see another street over there, so I kind of, myself, would like to have you,
Go ahead.
I would like to have you put it on a site, on the site plan, and where it's meant to, for what site, for what road.
So, I mean, we're willing to work with you to provide you with as much information as you need necessary to make an informed decision here. And if it requires a brief continuance of this hearing, we can bring in far more detailed signage, which I'm more comfortable with and you will be more comfortable with, then I'm happy to do that. I will take an adjournment of this particular proceeding, come back as the board has availability, and which meets with our schedule, and come back with some more detailed visuals so that you can see exactly what we're asking for. I understand that the side of the building facing the southbound traffic does not have, it seems to me, from the comments that I've heard from the board, does not have a lot of objections. It's the other sign where there's some identification issues which appear to be unclear, fuzzy, whatever you want to call them, and I don't disagree. I'm not that familiar with looking at the plans and telling you this is where it is. I can look at the photos and say that, but
Let me ask, I'm very familiar with the veneer of the front of that building. As you drive through that little guard shack, at that point, where would that east sign be?
It's this right here. Sorry, I'm really shaky.
I can't see it.
do you want to see the sign itself, the location
So
on the
that-
building?
This is the east side right here.
Yes.
And up here in this corner is the north side. So the east side, if we were to put the sign there, you would see heading towards the Cape. This one right here would be heading towards Boston. No, opposite.
the other way around.
Sorry, Boston, this way, Cape, north.
So
My
that-
apologies.
That's kind of out behind that parking lot where employees park?
Yes.
I mean,
That's
It
correct.
makes sense.
well, for where is it? So which one's designed for the expressway, the north side,
Both of them.
both of them?
They will both
Two
would never
different
be seen.
directions, sorry, excuse me, two different directions, north and south. So we've got signs on either side of the building facing north 3, south 3.
The way the building is kitty-cornered over there, when they cut all that fill out of the back there and cut all those trees down and all of that, that opened up that kitty, here, let me show you.
Well-
That kitty corner part of the building, that opened that up. So that they could,
So does Ed, you guys have any comments, or?
yeah, what do you guys think about that?
So the sign going on the north side is for traffic going south on Route 3. The sign on the east side of the
That's
building,
the
which is
east one?
not there,
Yeah, right.
is for the traffic going north to Boston. So I think the only issue that the board, if you could show us on the east side where it's gonna be on the building, it would help your position. All right, I'll say that again. So, the sign does on the north side of the building is for traffic going south. The sign on the east side of the building is for traffic going north. And if you could show us right now where on the east side of that building that sign's going to be located, it would be very helpful. So I would pull up a slide of the east side of the building.
All right.
Oh, you have to go to the other slide, I'm sorry. Denise.
So that's the sign. So that's the sign for the east
That's-
side?
That's north.
That side for the north.
That's
So
north.
what I'm trying to advise you is to bring up the sign that's going to be on the east side of the building.
That's east.
So now that's the east side of the building?
Yes, it is.
All right.
No,
So-
that's still north.
That's,
That's a 75 square feet, that's north. That's north.
North,
Go back.
north, night,
That's still north.
Yeah.
north, night.
Tone, sorry.
they don't have an east.
Yeah, the east
There it
is a
is.
40.
There, all right, so there's the east.
East Dayview, there it is.
This should be in view too.
All right. So it appears that the sign for the east side is going to be at the top right. And that, you're probably going to have to, if you're driving north on Route 3, you're going to have to turn your head pretty good to see that, it would appear.
We haven't done any traffic analysis, Mr. Conroy.
Well, I'm just
so
thinking, that if
I'm
you,
just thinking
I'm just looking at the
myself,
angle.
I think it's going to have some visibility. It's not going to capture as much as the other side of the building, but it certainly will be visible and will certainly be helpful. And again, looking at the scope and size of the building, that sign is relatively small. We wanted to present something that was not overwhelmingly large, something that was tastefully designed and that fit within the scope of that building and other buildings in the area so that this board would not have any major objections to the actual sign itself. So I think that while it may not be the economic boom we're hoping for from that side of the building, it certainly is helpful. Any signage.
What I
that
think
we
we've
can
done, though, I've helped out the board through you, Mr. Sims, on where the sign's located on the east side of the building. You did it. Good job, Bill.
See, that wasn't so painful now, Bill.
So how much am I going to charge here? No, okay. So,
Send me the bill.
so I think we,
For the two of you representing Triple M, Bill taught me everything I know.
so,
We are here where we're at right now.
So from the board's perspective, I'm a lot more comfortable with what we just walked through.
As am I.
So now that we know how the plot plan's set up, and that's the east side, we have the east day view, pretty small in relation to the building overall. It's not like the one in Kingston, when you drive north on what's the name of the establishment in Kingston?
Elevated roofs.
Elevator routes, yeah.
So if you look at elevated routes, that takes up probably 40% of the building size, the front of it, or a lot, I don't know how much it is. This is pretty small. That's all I'm saying.
Michael?
Well, let's put it this way. I'm in favor of signage, no problem at all. And I only bring up the prohibited part because if it gets appealed, that's gonna be a big question. I mean, the correct way on something like that is to bring it back to town meeting and strike that thing out. I think at town meeting, we definitely pushed it, made a mistake on the signage,
But
but.
at that time, it was marijuana craziness, people smoking
Right.
weed, jumping off the building.
Yeah,
Type of-
So-
I mean, that was happening at that town meeting, where it was hardcore.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of, and we were one of the
Oh,
few.
there was, yeah.
So we did that because, in my opinion, we were trying to make the naysayers accept the marijuana law.
Right.
And now.
And again, so I only bring it up because, again, that's not in the signage bylaw, that's actually in the marijuana part. So I'm comfortable myself overriding it. I don't know if it'd survive an appeal if somebody appealed it, because it listed as thereby prohibited. The only way around prohibited normally would be a variance, and you all know that requires a hardship, although you could say,
Requires three things.
yeah, no, but that's the only one that's hard to overcome. I mean,
They're not here for a variance. It's not.
no, I'm just saying that's a correct.
So it's not going to happen.
Right. So what I'm saying is, I mean, I don't know if it would be make an appeal, but I'm willing to do it.
The zoning board, we have very broad discretion,
Right.
and I think you may be right, because our job is to interpret the bylaw.
Mm-hmm.
We do have broad discretion, like we could have shut down the power plant when they were, So I think that this board has to make a decision, and it's not our purview to really care what happens upon appeal.
Right.
And so,
It is our purview to worry about the financial
I understand.
responsibility that this town takes in every decision that we make, Ed.
The only thing is it's on when it's in favor of the petitioner bears that burden, not the town. Because we don't care if it gets overturned. So the only time it costs the town the other way around, if we were to deny something.
no, because what's going to happen here, let's walk through it, is say we approve this sign.
Right.
And I think that if the bylaw was being drafted today, it would allow for such use, but it wasn't drafted today. It was drafted 2018, where times were different. And so, say we have a person that's going to appeal our decision, and we'd have to hire counsel to defend our position here.
Well, it wouldn't be us, it'd be him. If
No,
we
no,
give it
no.
to
No,
him.
it'd be us.
No, it's a petitioner. If we give it to him, the town never defends the petitioner. Petitioner defends it. I'm positive about that. So what happens is if we would vote affirmative and give it to them, and it gets appealed, it's up to them to defend that position. It's always been that way for the town. It's when we deny or the town's responsible for something different, then it works the other way. So I'm comfortable I guess, I don't know if you call overriding it, passing it, knowing that. The only problem is it could get appealed, but that's not our problem. That would be it.
So the reality is this does get appealed, we got a loser on our hands. It's a fact.
That's their problem. Mr. Wall?
Right.
I understand the change in the industry in terms of recreational cannabis, recreational marijuana, sales have gone down because the competition has proliferated. I also understand that medical marijuana has, because it's more difficult and because it's more labor-intensive, that it has been, it is a thriving market, but eventually competition comes in. The fact that you employ 100 people locally, the fact that you pay the taxes, and obviously those employees who live or work here or drive here and eat here support business. So I think every member of this board is very much in favor of supporting business. I will be honest with you, I am uncomfortable with not actually being able to understand where those signs are being put. And I thank my co-CBA member here, Mr. Conroy, for explaining it to me. At least I know what it looks like on one side of the building. I am, only because I don't know the bylaw word for word, and only because I do not understand halo lighting, I would be much more comfortable if someone clarified that for me who was not on your team. That's our side over here. But because I don't want us to approve something that then is going to come in to be a direct contradiction to the dark sky bylaw. And so, because I don't know the answer to that, and I'm not an attorney, I'm uncomfortable. But the others outweigh my discomfort.
Well, as I suggested earlier, if there's any level of concern by the board of the location, the details, then we're happy to come back another time and present some more. If everybody on the board, which is what we need tonight, is comfortable with what we presented tonight and the requests made, then that's fine. If not, then I can come back and we, with exponentially more detailed plans and photographs, and show exactly where the east side sign is, where the north side sign is, where it lays on the land, and provide you with details on halo lighting if that's what you require. Happy to do so. I don't want to see the board make a decision tonight uninformed and not prepared because they're lacking information. So I'm happy to come back with more detailed information if that's what this board wants, Mr. Chairman. So obviously it falls on you, but I'm happy to do so because we want this board to have a full comprehension of the project, the location, the site plan, the details of halo lighting, and everything that goes along with it. I'm happy to do so.
Very interesting. I'm pretty sure I can rely on what Michael just said about lawsuits. My biggest fear is that this board gets sued, and every time we get sued, we see $50,000 go out the window. And I can't, in good conscience, let this board put us in that position. But after Michael's explanation that it's your $50,000, I don't care.
So Mike, one big question though?
Wait a minute.
$50,000, not mine, but that's okay. I understand.
But you know what I mean.
I do.
I
do, and I
have to
understand that,
protect
and
the town. All right?
I do,
Now,
and
the explanation of the signage and where it is, it would be wonderful if we had a blueprint with exact locations and stuff, because that gives us a way of making a real intelligent decision.
Understood.
I'm very much in favor of the signage part of it because it's a changing time. And yes, Ed was right when he said that people were jumping off of buildings and J. Edgar Hoover was going to come to town and everything. It got a little crazy during that time, and people have accepted that there are medical purposes for this, and that I read an article this morning that Anheuser-Busch put out, that their sales in beer has dropped significantly in every state that marijuana is legal. Not just medical marijuana, but all marijuana. Their sales have dropped dramatically because people are saying, I would rather that. But that's not what we're here for. We're here to wonder about that pesky little thing called prohibited. I'm willing to set it aside. Michael's willing to set it aside. I believe Ed has spoken the affirmative.
Well, but the big thing that hasn't been addressed is that timer issue.
The
Timing. The planning board
Yeah,
wants it from 9, that's a big one,
and
because it kind of makes it useless.
yeah,
But we can take that up.
We'll take that up when we get a little further along in this.
We get the
But I'm
conditions.
glad you mentioned that.
We can take that out.
And what, for the halo lighting, I'm very familiar with it, and our dark sky laws basically don't want uplit things, because uplit, and if you look on a lot of building signs that and pedestal signs and things like that we approve, they're all downlit because of the dark sky laws. But halo lighting does pass the dark sky laws. So I'm not real concerned about that. And I'm glad you brought that issue about the timing up. Because, again, if we were to approve this, what's the sense of having it after 9 o'clock at night? And I think that it needs to stay on like any lit sign through, does Marriott shut their sign off at 9:30?
Does Honda? That Honda sign?
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, but we can remove conditions. They're only
Yeah, we-
advisory anyway.
We'll
So,
get to that and take care of that, but
I mean, on this whole thing, I'm comfortable, now that I know both are gonna face the expressway. What I was asking was, you got east face, and I'm wondering, okay, so I don't see a street. What the hell are we doing this for? Okay, so they're both over the expressway. I don't have an issue with the signs so much. Definitely not the halo. I was glad to see that, because even when you do the downlit signs, it just makes for a messy, and the halo does look a hell of a lot better. I'd like to make one request, but not as a, maybe as a board member, whatever, not on the conditions though, is if you when you put your lights in behind the letters, maybe run 2 circuits so you can adjust the depth of the halo, so that when you're coming down, do you know what I'm saying?
Yep, completely understand, thank you.
That would be the only concern. I wouldn't want it real bright and shining the whole side of the building.
Correct.
I'll be honest with you, I'd like to see the halos. I think they look awesome when they're done right. There's a bank up that we just approved up there had one. I think it looks great. So I don't really have an issue with anything. The only reason I brought up the prohibited is because if we didn't address that, makes us look a little foolish, because it is in the bylaw. So I don't have a problem with overriding that. It is, like in the case of Claremont, when we give them a permit and somebody appeals it, Claremont fought that, not us. And it would be the same thing in this. Once it's approved, the town doesn't care whether they keep the approval, they do. If we refuse that and they have a problem, then we've got the, logistics of that, the legal. I don't have a problem. I don't know, Tom, I guess you're the one that wants them to come back. It's up to you.
No, I think the benefits of the company and what they give to the town and the employees and their economic impact overrides my concerns, and I think Mr. Maine addressed the knowledge of the halo versus the internally lit. And I trust his comment on that. I have no problem.
Ed?
I'll go along with the board.
I would like to have them come back but I would like to approve this evening with a condition that they come back with a blueprint with the signage locations. How does that sound?
All right, is it informal?
As an informal, right.
And put the expressway on it, by
I'm sorry,
the
did
way.
you say as an informal?
As an informal. if
Okay.
Right, now, on that too, we want to see Route 3. This doesn't even show Route 3. I know where Route 3 is when I was looking at it, but I want to see that on the plan.
Yeah, we'll come back on the informal with the overhead and sightline views of Route 3, so you can see exactly the viewpoints from the building and from the highway to the building. So I think that'll make the board a little bit more comfortable with their decision, I hope.
All right. And for the record, there has been no one in the audience for public comment, so I never did open it for public comment. Having said that,
I'm going to make an motion that we approve it, and I am going to, on Ed's suggestion, I'd like to remove, if the
Yes.
board's amenable to it,
before you do that, let's go through the condition.
there's 3 of them.
Yeah. All right.
I would like to take out condition number 2, that's the one that Ed pointed out, and remove it totally. I think the other 2 needs to stay.
And we should have, the third one should be come back
An
in an
informal and show the,
So there will be 3 conditions. We're striking number 2 if, and I'm assuming you're
Yep.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes.
Okay. And the third condition will be that you come back in an informal with a site plan showing the exact location of the signs.
and the
a
location of the expressway.
line of sight.
Can I ask one question, Buster?
Yes, please.
Can you confirm that we're going to be able to see the signs, the east side sign from the expressway?
I believe that was the whole intention of the plan.
So just, I'd
I'm
like
not
a
as-
yes or no.
Yes.
Thank you.
Sight line.
So before I finish that out, question for you, and this is more for Ed, on that comment, do you feel more comfortable not making the decision tonight of waiting for that plan? Or are you okay with the informal?
So the petitioner stated unequivocally that we can see the sign when we're heading north, the sign on the east side of the building while heading north. So the fact that they said that, I'm okay with approving it.
Okay.
Good.
All right. So
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we approve case number 4128
With 3
with
conditions.
3 conditions.
Correct. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion for case number 4128, 3M Enterprises, to approve case 4128 with the construction of 2 signs, one on the north side and one on the east side of the building. All those in favor? You squeaked by.
I see that, Mr. Chairman.
It was a hard-fought battle.
And I'm going to go home and take a shower now. Okay, thank you. And we
I'm
will be-
only doing what you taught me, Bill. I paid attention, I took notes. I did all of that when you were on this board, and God bless you.
You did
Thank
a great
you very
job
much.
tonight, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. We thank you, and we'll be back on the informal basis to show you exactly all the details, and thank you very much for your time tonight. Thank you.
So Buster, one thing, are we done with this case?
Huh?
Are we done with this?
Yes.
So, as long as the board knows I'm not here on July 1st. I told the board a while ago I wasn't here.
Okay. Okay, so we won't let them come July the 1st. That's all. Bill,
Well, act.
before you go, let's get the second meeting in July. We're going to have them come back in the informal second meeting in July. Yeah. Okay?
July 15th? Correct.
That gives you enough time, right?
I noticed you changed your underwear twice. I said, I noticed you changed your underwear twice back there.
All right. Gentlemen, we have some minutes for
Thank you.
where are they? April the 22nd. And I am glad that Mr. O'Reilly has rejoined us at the board.
Very happy to be back.
Oh, you were sorely missed. Any additions, subtractions, changes? Okay, I await a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of April 22nd, 2024.
Who's the second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor? Thank you, they are approved. And that, I believe, concludes the business for this evening. And I will be home soon, sweet pea. Good night.